Hi everybody, welcome to Siege Airsoft. I know a lot of you guys haven't been around for a long time because of quarantine and all the craziness happening in the world, but we do want to go over the current changes on the field and how much our field has changed. This is the biggest field change and field swap since we've opened up in our 5 years of operation. So we have a lot to go through. We're going to start over here on this overview of the map. So as you can see, the map does look quite different. For those of you who haven't been here for a long time, there's this new big semi-permanent structure called the Killhouse, or the trap house in the middle. It has really tight CQB corners. It just kind of adds another layer of fighting for the field. It adds some really tight corners, some CQB, some maze-like structures. It was purposely built for training, so for law enforcement, military agencies and stuff like that. There are rooms specifically built for their room clearing drills, but also it works really well for gameplay. It's probably been here for about 8 months or so now, actually about a year, and it has proven to be one of our most popular structures. Otherwise, the field itself has changed a lot. You might recognize some familiar things like cubes and cars and all that stuff. However, the arrangement of them, the way that it has been designed, and the philosophy around them has evolved over time as we listen to customer criticism, as we refine our business practices and our field design. We have also refined the field to reflect that criticism, those reviews and everything like that. We do read your reviews, so definitely your voices are not going unheard. Just going to go over a few things. This field was designed with a lot of philosophy from game design, a lot of philosophy and techniques from learning how video games work, your favorite kind of shooters or your favorite kind of FPSs. So you might notice a lot of lanes. They're much more compartmentalized now. Before, a common criticism of the field was that one person could hold down the field at key locations like the bar, or back when we used to have the red wall, which is now gone, and just hold down the field for the full 15-minute game. And that's not really fun, doesn't really promote movement. If you also look at old footage of our field, you have people just stacked up behind one piece of cover, just like a renter situation there. And that wasn't really fun. What we want to do is we want to use the whole field. We're one of the largest indoor fields in Canada, so you definitely wanted to take advantage of our space more than we had. Eliminate what we call dead zones, so areas that people would not explore, would not use, and really just maximize our usage of square footage in here. We are over 35,000 square foot of playable area, but it did not feel like that. And so one thing we did was compartmentalize the field into little sections. That way, not only does the field feel bigger, it also feels, like it accommodates more players. Players aren't so much forced into certain situations in certain areas, and it flows better. So one of the big design points for the field was designing it with lanes in mind. So that 3-lane design that you hear from a lot of popular video games, that flow, that figure 8 that you hear from a lot of popular things, that we have incorporated into our field, and that has allowed the field to kind of have a lot more flanking routes. We did play test it quite extensively, and through our play test and through our early openings when we did have public players in here and public games with proper safety restrictions, of course, it showed that people were able to get around more. There wasn't just this back and forth fighting, so you just quite a narrow and long field. So there was that kind of problem to solve, that how can you make a flankable area in a really narrow, long basketball court style field. And we did fix a lot of those issues by compartmentalizing it, and we will go over that more when we get on. So let's get out there and let's show them what we got. So in here, of course, is just the chronograph area. For those of you who haven't been here for a while, we did move it from outside to in here. It's just safer. You have to have your iPro when you're on the field. We just chronograph through here. We put our chrono there. Test out your guns to make sure they're all shooting the proper velocity, and that's what we do. So the airlock itself hasn't really changed too much. We're going to go over the range first. So this is the Siege range. As you can see, it has expanded quite a bit. We used to have that wanted wall over there, but it was too small, and we felt that the range and the front of the field wasn't really used much for games anyways, so we could take advantage of this space by adding this expandable fence wall over here with the tarps. The range has also now been painted with range markers on the bottom, so this way the range can be used one of 2 different ways. So the first way you can use the range is, of course, just by using it like this, as these are long shooting lanes, and you can practice shooting your targets like this over here. Another way you can use the range, if there's not as many people on and you want to do some more long range kind of drills, is by using the range in a more lengthwise formation. So as the range is like this, you have these little range markers which are about 6 feet apart, and you're able to hit those long range targets over there, which is a pretty good engagement distance for Siege Airsoft. Having this range here doesn't just have a place where people can test fire their guns and unload their mags, which people still do, but it also creates an environment for training, for practice. People can set up these barricades here, and we're going to be building more barricades and more training tools in the future. And we don't want to just be a field for airsoft. We want to be a cornerstone of the community that not just promotes a cool field that you can play at, play deathmatch or whatever kind of game modes you like, but also be a space for training and getting better at the sport and developing better players. Another big thing in the range that we added is not so much in the close range, but it is the long range, or what we like to call the zeroing range. So if you follow me up the stairs of the City Hall building, previously known as Illuminati. So as you can see, we have these range markers here. They were unpainted for a number of years. However, we finally got to them during this quarantine renovation. And they're marked all the way out to 125 feet. The mansion is approximately 140 feet, so that building way in the back there is about 140 feet away. And these are about 25 feet away. As you can see over there, it says test your luck, zero and hop up. We set up this kind of roulette wheel to go along with the theme of the field. The mansion has been themed into kind of a casino resort area. And that wheel over there kind of advertises where people can go, and it also provides a lot of metal ringing targets that you can shoot. A lot of players don't know what zeroing is, and a lot of players don't know what hop up is. And our staff here are specifically trained to teach you what that is, so that way, before you call someone out for not calling their hit, you want to make sure that you're actually hitting them first. That's a big part of AIRSOFT is accountability, and we feel that we created all these tools, the range, the long range here, to increase accountability for players on the field, not just for the other team, but for yourself, and to make yourself know that, hey, is my gun zeroed? Is my gun shooting straight? Do I know where my BBs are going? And that is also part of the range experience. Another big part of the range experience is the zeroing range over here. So this one is a target that we put a piece of paper on with this clip here, and it's a motorized kind of range, and if you press the switch on the side, the range is able to go out to about 75 feet, which is quite a distance. It's pretty good average engagement distance for siege. And we have these targets over here that you can print out, or you can bring your own, or we can print them for you. And that allows you to really get a more precise zero on your gun, so you can hit that little coin-sized target or dinner plate-sized target at 75 feet away. Let's go downstairs. So before we get into the main field, we're going to go over the City Hall area over here. So the City Hall, previously known as Illuminati, is still going to be going under a lot of development to make it much more viable for games. However, it is kind of our outdoor administrative building, so when we're doing raffles or any prizes like that, you can stand up there and we can give the announcements for games and things like that. We did build this little podium here, just like we have on the outside, so that when we give briefings, I'm going to stand up on this thing, we're able to brief the players out here on safety, eye protection, having a bit of an elevated platform so that people can hear us clearly, know what's going on. Just gives us more tools to use so that we can disseminate the information to the players in the most efficient way possible. A lot of the colors and things like that finally exist. We decided to paint it up, give it a theme based on the city that we live in, Toronto, and based on various other urban locales that we are familiar with. So for example, Vice City over here, everybody knows that game, and we've based it around kind of a TTC metro station. Snail Mail based on a specific postal company and all the hardships that they're having right now with deliveries. So one thing that we had going on in the old field was that somebody would be shooting like this, and they'd see, there's a guy over there at that box. And everything here is kind of a box. So it's really hard to tell which box they're talking about, left, right, all that good stuff. By naming these buildings, by giving them very clear identifiable colors and not having the colors too close to each other, so it's kind of this hodgepodge of mix of colors and themes and names and stores and stuff like that, we're able to have better call-outs. So a person can say Snail Mail or 1911 over there as our 7-Eleven spoof, Vice City, police car, those kinds of things. It really does encourage a lot more teamwork at the field, which is something we have also noticed through our playtesting and from other players, is that they know where they're going, they know where the enemy is, and it really solves quite a lot of things at the field of communication. So Vice City Station, there's another station in the back called Raccoon City Station for all you gamers out there. These are the midfield spawns, and we have been using these instead of spawning at City Hall or what is now known as Police Station, previously Safe House. These midfield spawns are based on a lot of video game design that we've been reading up on, where there's kind of a fortifying structure in the middle of the field, which allows players to get out, break out from their initial points, and also to defend to prevent being spawn camped. So these buildings were really intricately designed in a way that prevents those problems from happening or alleviates quite a lot of them. As you can probably notice, we have these markers on the ground over here, just like the range, and these indicate a spawn box. So a problem that we did have earlier was players did not know where they were spawning, they did not know where they were entering. So one thing we added was these boxes around the place, so that way they know where to spawn, they know where to enter, they know to touch the back of the building, to watch their head, things like that. These buildings are kind of interesting because they also have the rules and code of conduct in the back. These are the most bare essential of rules. So if, for some reason, somebody is not listening to the briefing, they at least can identify to keep their eye protection on at all times, identify and have visuals to targets before shooting, so no blind firing, call them their hits, all that good stuff that makes airsoft work. So Vice City Station and Raccoon City Station also solved the problem of spawn camping. So before, a very aggressive team or a very well-coordinated team was able to really trap the enemy team in their spawn, and that's no fun for anybody. These buildings are extremely defensible. They have these kind of corners here, so a teammate could post up around here in these walls, watch their spawn. They can really get inside these areas here too, be able to post up here and watch their spawn from over here. And also, one little secret that some players haven't really discovered yet is the booth in front. So this is the booth in front, and there's an entrance in the back that you can walk through, or sorry, crawl underneath, and you can use this as a shooting position. It's really strong. It covers the midfield area. The weakness for this shooting position is it's very hard to get out of. So once you commit to this position, you're gonna hear a lot of this idea of give and take with our field design. So the give you get for this is that it's a very strong defensive position, kind of a sniper or machine gun little nest where you can shoot throughout the middle of the field over here. The take is it's very hard to get out of. So once you're committed here, you are committed to this position for the next little while. One thing you will also notice is a lot of signage we have up. So as you see, public notice, respawn ahead. This prevents players from spawn camping. It also lets players know where to go when they are dead. We have noticed that they actually have worked. So from experienced players telling us during playtesting, they see this sign and they know, oh, okay, I'm gonna move back a little bit, or I'm gonna maybe get my little bit of kills and run out because I know that's where they're spawning at. And it just creates that kind of narrative, the cohesiveness that we want. And the field is trying to solve problems that airsofters have on our field without the referee or without any authority figures having to scream or yell or direct them in that area. One thing you'll notice over here is these cool transformers, which are based on the transformers that you have probably hung out in during your playground and elementary school years. It's kind of bigger, but you've also grown bigger, so it kind of makes sense, I guess. In that respect, you'll notice a lot of these things, and you will not notice what we used to call 2D cover. So 2D cover were the old T-shaped, L-shaped, X-shaped walls that we had earlier, and we got rid of all of those. So they were not very durable. They often split apart when players would run into them, which you shouldn't do, but players did anyways. And because they were 2D, maybe only a single sheet of plywood, or with a 2x4 at most, they ended up being very easily shot out, creating lots of splinters, little holes, nooks, crannies. And because they were flat, they offered this very harsh 180-degree transition. So if you wanted to clear a wall, you'd have to do a 180 peak around this wall and not be able to really gradually pie it. Caused some hit calling issues because when you peak 180, you usually kind of fire into the corner and they would fire back, not sure who hit who first, all that nasty stuff. So to solve all of those problems, we created what we call 3D cover. 3D cover is much better, doesn't really move around a lot. This box weighs quite a bit. You'll need quite a bit of force to move it around, and it creates a more gradual transition. So if there's a person over there at this corner, you wouldn't be able to see them here, but you would be able to kind of slowly peek around and be able to shoot them there, hopefully without them noticing. And if they do notice, they also have to do the same thing against you. Gives a bit more time, a bit more opportunities to kind of make a decision. So there's one here, there's one there, as you can see. So you probably noticed a lot of these cubes. We have closed up all the murder holes, or all the little holes, because we didn't want that Swiss cheese field anymore. That Swiss cheese kind of field allowed players to really hold down a lane from this really cheap little spot that nobody was able to hit them in, or hit it calling was ambiguous because people did not know whether they were hit or not. Of course, airsoft is a game of honor, but like I said before, by creating a new field, we're trying to solve the issues that we can with design rather than with authority. So all those motor holes are gone. It also creates a much more durable field. It's much harder to shoot through solid plywood than it is to chip away at a triangle or a little box. The booth for snail mail, and that one's called Virtual Life, are based on spoofs, like I said earlier, but they go into this interesting design philosophy we call the C structures and the I-beam structures. And they're called C and I-beam structures because if you look at it from a top-down view, it's a cube, an 8-foot wall, and a cube, or a cube, an 8-foot wall, and a cube, creating that I and that C. And this was based on a lot of video game design and a lot of design philosophy with lanes, shooting, flanking, and all that stuff. So I will demonstrate how that works. So if you're over here, you can easily hold down this lane. as one person pretty effectively and without exposing much of yourself. However, it does leave you open in a few ways. Through here and through the middle kind of alcove for the sea. So I'll demonstrate by going to the other side. So if I'm here on this side, transition shoulders a bit, I could have this firefight over here with this person, and that might work out in my favor. It might not. It really depends on who's the better shooter. But we added more kind of tactical options to our field. By going through here, you're able to kind of get the jump on this player over here by going closer, like this. And that will be a little unexpected if they see someone there, they're holding it down over there, or they might be holding low, and the person pops out over here. Another option is, by going inside the cube, you're able to actually completely get a flank on a person defending over here. The downside and give and take for this is going inside is slower, a slow lane and a fast lane, and also it's louder. Just like in any other popular kind of competitive game where you would turn the footsteps up, walking on the concrete isn't too loud, it's pretty quiet. However, walking on the plywood creates a lot more noise. So it's really up to you and up to the player how they want to solve these little problems that they encounter in force on force. So we're going to approach the midfield now, and this part was probably the most exciting part of the field to design because the midfield is where the transition point between one side, attackers and defenders, team deathmatch, attackers and attackers, or any of that stuff was kind of going on. So the midfield presented a few challenges because the bar was really strong and really overpowered. If you held the bar, you win. And the midfield, people didn't want to cross it. So it was kind of this line of scrimmage, this no man's land that nobody really wanted to move across, nobody really wanted to take. So how do we develop this midfield so that people will cross it and the bar is less overpowered and there's more interesting avenues of fighting? So one thing we did was look at the field and how people fought. Most people fight at Siege back to front like this, from the front entrance all the way to the fire exits to the back. We wanted to incorporate more lateral fighting. So more fighting from the wall to the wall on these sides instead of fighting all the way down all the time. And that creates just another dimension of gunfights, just creates another dimension that we have to balance out. But it does create more routes and more lines for kind of how to balance the field. So if you look at the top-down view of the map, the front of the field is this town square. The middle of the field is kind of this three-lane design. However, the three-lane design goes horizontally instead of the vertical arrangement of the field. And that allows the midfield to block lines of sight from one end to the other, so you can't just camp from the midfield all the way to their spawn. And it allows the midfield to kind of have these interesting engagements where you're fighting laterally instead of vertically. Going to the ref tower here, very familiar. We haven't changed it too much. We have changed a few things though. On the ground, you will see a midfield spawn. So this is for half-field games, like half-field deathmatch, mini games like that. The ref tower has also changed in a few ways. First and foremost, there's no more bonking your head on these X-beams because we moved them to the side instead of being in the front and the back. Also, the ref tower used to be a really powerful spot because you were able to shoot laterally and camp the whole field from the inside of the Killhouse. We fixed that by making it more of a tunnel. So now, in order to shoot from the ref tower, you have to commit to either staying inside, having a very narrow lane of fire, or coming out and being more exposed. In addition, from this view where I'm standing, there's a wall right where the cameraman is. And that wall allows you or any players to have a bit of a chance to advance up from cover to cover. So there's this cover-to-cover fighting instead of cover to the open wilderness. Cue that ODST commercial where the pod pops out and he's facing like a million aliens over there. These signs over here we have developed really denote the buildings and what kind of buildings you're fighting in. So the middle area is what we call Flavor Town, named after a very popular frosted tip chef. So this one is called Chance's West Indian Eatery, named after someone very important to us. And these kind of little buildings develop the story and the narrative around Siege. Our merchandise is also going to be based around this, so you feel like you're just part of this little community instead of just playing on this little field. Weenie hut over here, based on our rule number 1, which is no weenies allowed, don't be a baby, you're playing airsoft. We moved this picnic table here from the outside because it looks really cool, fits the narrative. We have had people hide underneath, it's a very sneaky spot. Weenie hut is kind of the midfield, very defensible position. It doesn't really lead anywhere, but people have been going inside and through these doors to hold down the midfield. Quite effective for that. It also has this giant hot dog sign that we made very lovingly. What we have created is these alleyways, and these alleyways are really cool. They feel really immersive, really tight, just like the back alleyway of a street. We've also added more wires on top, so that way it kind of creates that noise that we have, that field noise, that the shoes hanging there adds to that urban feel. And in addition, you notice that everything is much more narrative, everything is much more intentionally designed. So here, this entrance has been blocked off for a very long time at Siege because it did provide too much of an open shooting lane to the other side. However, it used to just be blocked off with a piece of plywood or some graffiti or something like that. We've actually now made it into a shuttered door, and you will see these kind of shuttered door designs throughout the whole field. It just really adds that this is a space I can get into the bar. I have to fight my way in, but I can't get in through this way. So the bar. The bar is probably one of the most contentious parts of the field because it's extremely strong, really easily defensible, and really hard to take. So we wanted to fix that issue because the bar itself was a bit overpowered. It didn't really lend to proper field balance, and because it's the middle of the field, whoever controls the middle wins. As you can see from here, the shooting lanes from the bar are not as strong as they were before, including from this door, that door, and out. We have blocked one of the big archways, so this is the only archway you can get in from this side, and we have blocked this one with the shuttered door like you see earlier. So in here, we have added this clear wall. So this clear wall really prevents the camping from that door to that door. So both teams now have a midpoint to fight to and have some options to fight around. So if a teammate were to get here, you can see what's going on, but this is a plexiglass wall. BBs will not go through this very easily, or actually they won't go through them at all. As you can see, many BB marks. There's been many times where people have gotten faked out over here, but no times where people have gotten shot other than a good flank or a good strat. So what used to be a common problem was people camping from the bar door down here, or people camping from the stairs. So the stairs, you can see, have been blocked off. So the stairs are only for going up and down now, not really a campable spot. So even if somebody were to camp at the stairs, there would be many more opportunities to shoot them if they were not at the stairs. So it's not a very good place to be. So through the back of the bar, we have split the back of the bar, which we used to call the pocket, into two different alleyways. So the first alleyway is on the outside, and we're going to go through it in a bit. And the second alleyway is here on the inside. On the inside, we have this new wonderful van. So this van over here is pretty sweet. Offers a lot of cover. These windows are holding up to BBs, and it offers places you can go inside, through the door, shoot underneath if you're really flexible and really good. Going with the theme of designing for the field. So-so over here, pretty popular call-out spot, just named after so-so. A lot of these so-so goods you get in AIRSOFT. On top, you'll see this little flag here. And these are going to be scattered throughout the field. We'll go over to them as we walk past them. This is a control point sign. So as you can see from many games and many kind of movies and stuff like that, they will highlight the important things and they'll highlight the important areas. A lot of times when people are playing AIRSOFT, they're like, oh, I don't know where the thing is. I don't know where the control point is. These control point signs are movable, so if the field does change in the future, which it will, people will understand where to go, and they're always near the flags, just like a game of conquest, domination, stuff like that. So the flag for this one is right over here. The flags have been separated into white and black, so people that have various different disabilities can see them. We do have some colorblind staff, so we wanted to take account of that. We didn't use red and green because some people can't tell that apart. Black team controls it. White team controls it. Pretty easy, just on a pulley. They can be replaced if they need to, and they're all around the field for different varying game modes. So let's get through the back over here. So you can see in front of me, there is the front part of the field, and this is the other hallway there, just a snaking hallway again, with these kind of cubes arranged in this fashion with these walls. This is one of the little carts that we have, kind of after like a carnival cart or something like that. We just put these wheels on it, so it allows for people to kind of have a little bit more immersion. So it looks like a little ghetto truck. Another cool trick they can do is they can climb on top of these wheels and get some lines of fire like this. And these wheels have been drilled into the frame of this structure, so they're able to support the weight of a person pretty easily. We have these cars placed in the middle of the field now, or sort of in the middle of the town squares. They used to be at the ends of the field for a lot of the field arrangements. And we find that to be kind of a waste of space. The cars are really interesting to fight around. They provide interesting spawn points and objectives, flag capture points and all that stuff. So over here we have more stores. Mall Ninja, for those of you out there. MMA, for those of you out there that like the fighting stuff. Jack over here right now is painting the shipping container that we're painting up to look like a shipping container. However, this just kind of indicates that we're always transforming the field. We're always improving it. We're always adding more designs, more artwork in, more structures. That way we can continuously evolve the experience. So Raccoon City here, same kind of idea as the front. Exact same structure. It's a literal clone, a blue clone of the front. And it also clones the same thing with the spawn box in the back, creating that midfield strong point that people can fight to and defend and spawn at. So the mansion, also known as the casino and resort, as we painted with the beautiful sign up there. The mansion has changed a lot in a lot of different ways. One thing you will notice from the outside is all the diamond windows up there are all plugged up. And that just goes with plugging up a lot of the murder holes, a lot of the ambiguousness of where you're getting shot from, where to shoot. By plugging those up, you really have to commit to standing up and shooting down, or just hiding and taking the fight to the second floor, waiting for them to come up, instead of this kind of nature where you have these Swiss cheese kind of design that I was speaking of earlier. And also what we've noticed is a lot of people up there, when they get shot in the leg, they don't call it. So let's just eliminate that option entirely, have them commit, because when you're shot in the helmet or the head, much more easy to define than getting shot in the leg. We've added these double doors. I'm sure most of you guys recognize those famous words. These double doors are fixed in place, so they're not really doors, they're actually just walls that we've built. However, they can be swapped out and undrilled from the ground and undrilled from the frame of the building as we change and as we see fit, or they could be sealed up completely if that's the case for certain field designs in the future. They've been arranged in a way that they're kind of swept open like this, allows for some flow. So when you see this double door, you know which way you're going in and which way you're coming out because of those leading lines. The double doors also fix the problem of these mansion doors originally being way too huge. People did not want to go in them, people did not want to fight around them, much too risky. So by adding a bit of cover here, just add some more defensible options for players, places to go, and places that they feel that they can fight through instead of being stuck in these very hot zone kind of areas. It really minimizes that kind of thinking. So let's go into the mansion. It's a bit dark in here, so thank you for the light. The mansion has changed quite a bit, as I said earlier. Now, inside the mansion, we have a flow-through design, just like the rest of the field. So these rooms are no longer compartmentalized. It's kind of like this big donut around the courtyard. This big donut allows players to kind of communicate more, attack more, really see where their teammates are, and see where their defending or attacking teammates are in games like Berlin Wall, which is our very popular attack and defend game that we run here, and games like Domination. For those of you who also have not been here for a long time, we've also drilled holes in the top here to allow a bit more light into the mansion than before. Just allows people to see a little easier. So the courtyard of the mansion has changed a lot. Before, the courtyard used to not be very useful. It used to be something that was just kind of this big open dead space area that nobody really wanted to be in. Now we have added some furniture here, cool little table, cabinets, couch, chairs, all that awesome stuff, more places to hide objectives, more places to be. And that just makes the mansion inside a lot more usable. There's a lot more back and forth fighting, a lot of low cover, so a lot of crouching, a lot of places to check. This table has been used for a lot of game objectives where they have to deliver something here. So it just solves a lot of issues, creates more options for players and staff to run games, to play games, all that great stuff. The mansion also has this new permanent structure. This is what we call the fishbone wall, because if you look on the inside, it looks like a fishbone. This is drilled into the frame and the floor. This also allows for a little bit more of an interior area into the mansion. So it's not just this big open area. There's a bit of a maze going on here. So we walk inside. Now we have this inner space. This has been used for a spawn point for certain games. It's also a stronghold for the defenders that are, if they're defending mansion. Just a really interesting structure overall. This also means we're able to open up the back from this closed off area into this flow through kind of design over here. Same principles as the front. The back is really dark, so mixed lighting conditions are a big thing that we really love here. And got to use your flashlight or your night vision if you can afford it or if you have it, and clear out these back rooms over here, which are still really defensible. They're just not as bunkerable as they were before these kinds of changes. So people can still defend these places relatively easily. However, they just have more angles to watch, just accommodates more players, different strategies, usage of grenades, all that great stuff. So the back there hasn't changed too much, so we're gonna go upstairs where most of the changes are. So upstairs has changed quite a bit. Going with our theme earlier, there's a lot more commitment to upstairs and downstairs fighting. So there used to be a big clear wall over here, sorry, not clear wall, a big plywood wall over here. So before, players would be able to stand here and really camp these entrances just from a standing position. Kind of cheap, you know, not very interesting. So we decided to remove it entirely. So now, if you want to camp these doors and you want to minimize exposure, you only have this little wall over here to do so. And it's very skinny, so you have to really watch the exposure of your behind and make sure you're not there. However, this can only fit one person. So if a person is already here, the other people up here, they have to really kind of crouch down into a squat or something like that. And that's what we want. We want this up and down fighting, this flow between the upper floor and the lower floor to be very high risk and reward. It's just easier, first of all, for us to balance it out. And also, it creates this sense of, do I want to get kills or do I want to survive? Here, another little cube, just like downstairs and you see outside. Just adding more cover to the top to make this more usable instead of this big open space. So, I'll sit down here. There have been many cases We're on Berlin Wall. The last person here is defending just like this and just waiting. And they have won, they have lost, but it just gives them something to do. Another big thing that you will notice is these warning signs. We added a lot of warning signs to the field, and you're going to see them throughout the area. Is these warning signs just, add a sense of safety for people. People used to bonk their head on this pipe all the time. Pretty hard to mix this giant yellow sign that's kind of shaped after, if you ever went to an underground parking garage, they always have clearance signs like 1 foot, or not 1 foot, that's very small, but like 8 feet, 12 feet warnings, same kind of thing, 5'2", we measured this is 5'2", so a person that's me, about 6 feet tall, would have to clear underneath and hopefully not bonk my head on this. And actually, ever since we've installed these, we have seen 0 bonks, so pretty effective. So the upper floor mansion is still currently under development. However, we kept it mostly the same because it works out for us. In the future, we do want to make this a bit more compartmentalized, a bit more roomy, like you will see in the upper floor bar. These cubes are still here, adding some low cover, but like I said earlier, the holes are gone. So in order to shoot from the upper floor, you have to really commit to shooting like this. And you might think, wow, that might mean that nobody wants to shoot on the upper floor anymore. Actually, not true at all. We found that people still want to shoot because airsofters are very kill hungry. But now, when people do get hit, they call it. And that's a big thing for us. The air conditioning is still here. This is a broken unit, so this is just kind of cover up here. We have removed the mesh and everything like that, so now this is a lot more porous, and it does lend for a bit more of a balanced gameplay, so this is not just like an OP spot anymore. Again, another little clearance spot over here, just to watch your head, because there is a pipe here as well. We have also noticed 0 bonks so far from here. That's a good thing. So over here you can see a really great overview of how the field looks. So if you look, you can see the lanes, how we've designed it to be maze-like, where we block the lines of fire and all that stuff. It's not just a random assortment of cover anymore. It really lends itself to being a space that is intentionally designed for playing airsoft, that doesn't rely on gimmicky kind of designs, that has avenues for firefights, that has avenues for engagements, that has routes for flanking, defending, attacking, all the stuff that you would normally expect from a CQB experience into one package. So going down, this is our last cube. Good boy security, kind of goes with this whole thing with the mansion being a stronghold. Also painted Kintar the dog, which is Aaron's dog, our general manager here. Very cute, very awesome. So the Killhouse, we're gonna take a little tour of the Killhouse. In these back area over here, what we call the storage room of the Killhouse, we have these barrels tied up. They're also weighted down, so they're pretty hard to push. These are large, tall covers, 3-dimensional covers, not just individual barrels anymore that people can move around like Donkey Kong. So there have been many cases where somebody's breaching the room all tactically and they have this little battle gnome or something like that just hidden here, just ready to frag the next person. Sure, they might get fragged out in like 2 or 3 hits or 2 or 3 people coming in, but they will stop the team, they will stop that advance. So the Killhouse. If you look at the exterior of the Killhouse, or sorry, the overall top-down view of the Killhouse, it is kind of like a ring with a plus in the middle. And we have that because now you can fight around the Killhouse, you can fight through, and you can fight across. All the rooms are accessible in those ways. Just creates a very fair space for fighting. And we have noticed that throughout the field. People love playing in here. It's a bit daunting and intimidating at first because the angles are so close together. With proper teamwork and proper skills and proper CQB, it is very achievable, and there are a lot of lanes, a lot of options that people have to fight through it. So we're gonna kind of go around the ring of the Killhouse right now before we go through. This is another room over here. Now there's a door over there, so it's not just one entrance there. We have opened that up for those of you who haven't been here for a while. So we've gotten rid of the spool. So this used to be called the spool room. Now it's called the mailbox room because we have this mailbox here. This also creates an interesting opportunity because it splits the lane, which used to be this big structure here, into 2 major lanes of fighting. There have been times where I'm camping this area here, watching the ref tower, and somebody has snuck up behind me through one of the front entrances of Killhouse, through Flavortown, and have fragged me out. Not fun, but very fair. I wasn't watching the other side, and it just creates, again, more opportunities, more options. So we're gonna snake through. These rooms haven't changed too much because they've been really effective in our kind of design and people really seem to like them. The Killhouse is modular, however. We will change it at a later date. It just does provide some challenges of its own because the walls are tapped to the ground into the frame of the building. Here is the mid-hallway. For those of you, again, who haven't been here for a while, the mid-hallway is a really interesting space because it allows the flow through from the ref tower all the way to the back of the Killhouse. This really does allow for a team that is well coordinated to push through the middle of the Killhouse and fan out. But it also gives the defending team, if they're pushing from that side or this side, a chance to defend this big lane in the middle. It is a very high risk, high reward lane. Whoever controls the middle of the Killhouse really does control the whole thing. However, it is very hard to control, as this is a very sharp corner to take, and that's a very long shooting lane down there. The room beside the bedroom you might recognize. Again, more cool flags. This is the midfield flag for King of the Killhouse, which is a hard point King of the Hill style game where you have to control this point. Pretty fair game. We did add these flags over having a pylon with something to swap because it's really easy to see. And we've elevated it more than the other flags on the ground floor in order for the referee to be able to easily see what team controls each side of the field. The bedroom over here hasn't changed much at all. We did add some furniture over here, such as this little box spring, and we just arranged the couches in a way that they're a little harder to move. A lot of hiding spots in this room. However, really great for objectives. The bed does provide a great spot for DE siege, planting the bomb. This is one of the bomb sites. So Midway Station over here is the third train station. It looks different from the other ones because it's kind of modeled like an underground entrance that you go down into. It actually just leads into the wall of the perimeter. It kind of solves the problem of the hallway of death or the long hall of the Killhouse. There used to be some temporary cover here, such as a wall, L-shaped cover, T-shaped cover, but it would always get shot out because it's a very high traffic area of the field, and it did not provide a good area for movement and clearing because it was this harsh 180-degree transition. And what I also love about it is through this hallway from the ref tower hall can see both sides. So if a team is keen and somebody is camping here on each side, there's opportunities from both teams to clear out the other side and push forward. So if you were to go to ref tower over there, and I'm camping here, the person down there probably can't get me because I'm really holding down this spot quite strongly, but the person at the ref tower has an easy shot on me. Same thing with this side. Like that. And over there, a person from the long hallway, so the middle hallway, has an opportunity to get me, but I can easily get the person coming out from the bedroom. So probably the biggest change to Killhouse would be the bedrooms over here, the little rooms. Little rooms used to be kind of a bit of dead space. They were purposely more built for training. However, we have incorporated them into better gameplay by adding a big hall in here, like this. And it's pretty great, it's pretty awesome. These rooms are now a lot more used, and there's a lot more purpose to them that isn't just for training or a dead space for an objective. So the last place we're gonna go to is the bar top floor. It is one of the biggest changes at Siege, and one of the changes that players have been asking for a very long time, is how to make the bar top floor much more useful than what it currently was. As you can see from the outside, we just have mini structures there as well. It's not just a long open courtyard, foyer kind of area situation going on over there. It is now a bit of a mini Killhouse on its own. So going upstairs over here, if you'll notice, we have blocked off the stairs all the way up here behind me. Now, you can't be shot while going up. Prevents some camping issues, just makes it a lot more purposeful, makes attacking the bar a little bit more possible for an attacking team. If we go up to bar, flag again. This is for King of the Bar. So over here, you might notice that a very important thing is gone, and that would be the pink wall over here with the little U-loop that you would jump over. Most players found that to be a tripping hazard, and we agree. We did see a lot of players tripping on it, including myself. So we just got rid of it entirely. Now this is just a little step, a little gradation over here, and it allows the transition from bar into the other upper floor structures without any problems. So now the upper floor structures are not just this open courtyard area with a few cubes and clothes hangers and everything like that. They are proper apartment little structures, apartment little rooms, sorry. This just creates more usable space at the field. So before, a lot of people would not want to come up here because it's not very useful. Now, it's a very hot spot of the field. A lot of fights are here, a lot of intense gameplay. So as you can see, there's a room here and a wall, and we have this little S-bend going on with that kind of snaking design that we have going on. So here, these are the two apartments for Blue that we modeled after the the rooms inside Killhouse in the long hallway. You can get shot from down there, of course, if somebody's camping the bridge at police station. However, if you go inside, now you have a bit of an opportunity to fight, either defend or to attack this way. You can also see the rest of the field down here, and there's a big window that you can shoot out of. However, just like the mansion top floor, a lot of risk and reward for popping your head out here because it's very easy to see the silhouette of a player here. pretty big tunnel, just allows transition between both rooms. So if this first room was taken, there isn't always like this crazy intense firefight. There also is a chance to clear the room from this little vent hole over here. Boom. Like that. And here is a very identical room to the other one that you see earlier. Same kind of structure. So one thing that we did notice was it's very hard to attack the top floor of police station from the blue building. So we created this little L bend here to give it kind of a symmetrical feel, a symmetrical kind of balance. So now, if a player's here, they can be shooting at the windows or the balcony or at the stairs over there if they're a really crack shot. And they can get some people out, but they can also get shot out themselves. Just more opportunities for fighting. The bridge itself, one of my favorite parts of the field, hasn't changed because it's awesome and it's really immersive. Over here, we have reinforced all the windows. There used to be a really fancy kind of lattice over here. We got rid of that. Looks cool, but not very durable. So we reinforced a lot of the windows here with these 2x4s. As these get shot out with time, easy to drill out, repaint, and replace. One thing that one of the comments on Instagram has brought up to me was that you noticed that a lot of the BBs that you guys were shooting were hitting around the windows. As you can see the chipwood over here, and some of them even now from our playtesting have hit around the window frame. So you're not always hitting the person you're shooting at. So don't call people out so eagerly, please. We blocked this window off because it's leading to the stairs. People getting shot in the back of the head sometimes if they're coming up. Not really safe, but also just, not really a gameplay option that we want to explore because there's already a lot of defensible areas, so we just blocked it off. And the top of bar also has this box over here that people can hide at. We got rid of a lot of the tall cover on the second floor, so if you see there's no cover that goes all the way up except for very certain areas of the field, because we didn't want that very safe situation of a person can hide behind a wall and just keep shooting the second floor, keep pelting them. Not very fun, very hard to attack, ambiguous with hit calling, all that stuff. So like earlier, if you're defending the first floor from the second, you really got to kind of get down into a position where you're kind of squatting or doing a horse stance over there and really kind of flex those muscles a bit, which I don't have, but And that's pretty much the walkthrough for the field, everybody. Thank you for joining me on this cool journey. We still have a long way to go before we get the field to where we want it to be, and we thank you all for sticking with us. We hope to see you soon. I think that's a wrap.